Hey guys, this is a bonus video. I am doing this just so that I can complete the additional step that I showed you guys last time. I kind of cheated in this one. I try to get a head start, but you know what? Let's delete it. I want to show you how to implement the check if a file exists option. So last time we spoke, we mentioned that you want to run this pipeline if there's some input file. Some days maybe there was no change in the source database, so you don't want to just trigger the pipeline because something might break. I mean, you know, we can test it right now. Let's see if I go into the uh, session expired. If I go into my Azure portal landing zone, I can try to delete this and see if I run this pipeline, will it even succeed or not? Let's see. Okay, it's actually succeeded. So that's actually not an issue. However, sometimes you know the not sure if there will be any issue. How about this one? Let's run the whole thing. Let's see if it's gonna be any issue when there is no file. Let's see the merge statement. Will it work? Will the uh, move file section will it work? So let's check, because that's how you, as a data engineer, you have to think of these corner cases, right? And that's how you can harden your pipeline and create very efficient, pipeline. So everything worked. So which is good, but you never know. Sometimes it doesn't work. And another problem with data engineering, we don't have good, data engineer testers. Most times will be the one testing your code, doing a lot of unit testing, coming up with the corner cases like this. Like I said, what if there's no files in the input? What would the pipeline? Will it fail? Will it corrupt anything? Uh, so these are some of the things that you check. But for example, let's assume that there's a requirement that we don't want to take any chance. If there's no input file, we don't even want to trigger this pipeline, right? So that means that you have to do some kind of conditional statement. So it means you have to first check if there's any file in the source input folder. If if there's if there's at least one file, fine, run the pipeline. If there's no file at all, then don't run don't run the pipeline. So let's do that. So to do that, first you get your get metadata, and this is get metadata is to check uh, files in folder. So this will check files in the folder. So our data set will be landing zone CSV. Unfortunately, I already created it, but I will probably show you what I did. I only did the went into the key thing is to go only to the employee folder and leave it at that level, because the point is gonna check for files within this folder. Because remember last time, after the input folder, we had an employee folder which we're gonna store all the files, incremental files related to the employee table, right? So that's the point. So that is good. And the field list. So in this case, we're gonna get what? The child items. That is what I want to do. So the logic is I want to count, get all the files within that folder and do a count. If the count is greater than zero, that means that at least one file is there and I need to run the pipeline. If the count is equal to zero, obviously there is no file to process and we shouldn't even run this pipeline. So what I need next is a conditional activity for if activity. So I'll package all these. I'm gonna put it under the true under the true oh, man, under the true activity section. However, this is becoming a challenge over here. I cannot select multiple things. So that's something with Data Factory. Sometimes it's clunky, it doesn't allow you to select. So it means that I might have to just copy and paste individually. So I have to cut and paste, or do cut and paste. I have to do another cut and paste. Then I will connect them again. And obviously later it's gonna format by itself. So we have to put if condition. At, if at least one file exists. If at least one file exists, so the expression. So this is the part where we have to come up with. So what I like to do is say, okay, I know I want to do I want to get the count. First is to get the count of the child items. So there's a function to get the count. So normally I look for it. I was like, okay, where's the count function here? I see add max min. I don't see a count. So I check the logical one. I check the collection one, looking for I can see the length. So I don't have necessarily a count, but I have a length of an array. So this is good enough. It's similar to a count. So I can give me the length of the child items. Right? Give me the length of the child. So this is the first part is I'm getting that count. Now, whatever value, if it's 1, 0, I just need to do the greater than symbol to check is it greater than 0. So according to the logical functions, And another thing, when you hover over that, it gives you the syntax. So that's something I like. You see, it's very there, greater than. So I just click it. So I go here. I know it has to be here. I click it here, and it gives me that greater than, and I do comma 0. So here you go. Here you have it. So we have that if condition done, and we have it set up to uh, to do the true activity, and so we can validate the pipeline is good, and then we can execute it. So right now, like you see, there's no blobs here, so we can run it. It shouldn't do anything. It shouldn't run those pipelines. So that's one thing. So let's refresh again. It's not running. Okay, it's taking a while. Somehow things are kind of slow today, but now it's good. So it's checking if the file is it. So another thing you can do is, one thing I like to do when the pipeline runs, I can check the uh, the output. So this is how I see. Okay, child items. Okay, so this array is empty. So I can see exactly what things are coming out, and that's how I know what to use to the if to do the if condition. And as you can see, it's finished running, and you got the input, and it sees that child items is 0. So 0 is not greater than 0, so evaluate to false, and it didn't really do anything. So that's the good thing. Now, if I put a file inside it, so let's try to put a file inside this um, inside this thing, right? Let's put a file inside, and let's run it. Why is it still saying running? This is so slow today, guys. So slow. Sometimes I just want to refresh because it's telling me to publish. Okay, let me publish. Because it's kind of slow today. Now I can refresh. So it's still saying running. Interesting. Definitely nothing to run. So why is it still running? Alright, I think should be good now. Yeah, should be good. Yeah, it's kind of weird today, so slow. But anyways, let's now we have a file. Like I showed you, we uploaded a file. We can again initiate a command debug and run it. So we should see that it's run. And that's one thing I would say, with the if condition. I wish Microsoft could show us if this is like if it, when it evaluates to true or false in the log. I wish it could tell us, right? Like say then when I look at the output of this this one. I wish you could tell us, right? No, it's not even coming up. Not even coming up to show. I can see this, but I cannot see this. Maybe it's waiting for it to execute completely. It doesn't even. I wish you could tell us right here that if this evaluates to true or false. That way we don't have to see, okay, the pipelines that ran. Because sometimes when you look at this, when you're debugging your pipeline, you don't know if it's running the if activity, the true activity, or it's running the false activity. But if data ADF is able to tell us that, okay, this evaluated to true, that would be really nice. And I think there's a way to give feedback. So we can give a feedback. How do you post a new idea? Sometimes I don't know. I don't know if they. Let's do. Let me not waste your time here. I will probably post it on my free time, but you guys understand the goal. So that's handles that. And last time I was also conflicted with the issue I had where we had a uh, default constraint on the table, but it wasn't working. It was still giving off. So I wanted to us to kind of debug it a little bit, right? So as you can see, when I create the table script, you will see that it has the default constraint. However, when if I do a simple insert statement, I put, let's say, ID 10, name 8, weight 1, 230, modify data any day. No, actually, just want to put now. So you'll notice one thing, right? If I put now and I run this, right, it's gonna execute successfully. Okay, taking this today is really slow. All right, so I run this, and as you can see, it's null, but there's a default constraint. So what I had to learn is this, right? That imagine if I don't put this and I just specify ID, name, and weight and run it. Then it's really slow today. The network is quite slow. I don't know if it's coming from my side or maybe from maybe it's coming from my side. And I run this. So as you can see, it did the default value. So the issue is as long as data factory doesn't pass any value, it completely ignores this, we should be good. So trying to implement that in data factory, again, let's create a new pipeline. And here over here, as you can see the schema, I have three, and the sync, I have truncate table and this. So if I run it, if I preview the data, there's nothing, right? But I know that there's data in the data lake. Maybe not, because we just truncated that. You just run the pipeline and you moved it to archive. So what we can do is to um, upload a data set. And in this data set, um, come on, I thought I just uploaded the data set. This slowness. Let's upload the data set again. All right. As we upload the data set and I view it, so yeah, it's what I expect. And when I um, use that data set to now, the thing is, if we do a reset of this data set, just to be safe, let me just run it like this. Let's see what will happen, if it's gonna pick it up or not. The next time we're gonna do a reset of the mapping schema. That way, we will be sure if those fields, extra fields are coming out. Because remember, we are doing full and incremental load, so maybe the incremental file, given that it has those extra metadata columns, might be modifying the schema and making it to force a null value inside it. So let's check. Let's check if this really can come on. 15 seconds of our lives. 19, 20. All right. So that didn't work. I mean, so what I will do is this. I will go over here, do a clear, do a reset, right? When I import schema, um, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. Undefined, select type. Somehow it's 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 not able to identify the schema because remember we are using this thing, this data set in a way that we are doing this folder from a folder. But now let's change it. Imagine we create a new data set. But is it worth it? But let's, for the heck of it, let's see if the data set, the way it's set up, maybe is the issue. So let me put, so when I do preview, boom, I see this data. But however, I forgot that I need to make first row as header row. Last time, if you can remember, there are a couple of things. We coded character, escape character has to be the same. And we also want the row delimiter to be carriage return line feed. And that should be it. And we do preview and we get this. And when we go back to the pipeline, we go sync mapping. And when we do the open, we go to schema. It's looking good. We do import schema. No, import schema. Maybe that's what we should have done in this one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's see if this works. Let's run it. Yeah, now it works. So the problem with the schema, right? The schema, it doesn't like the way we set up the schema earlier. That's why it doesn't work. So if we use this input CSV, again, if you look at the data set and look at the schema, and we do the import schema from connection store, you see that it's not important because the way we set it up, we wanted to make sure it's picking any file that it sees within the employee folder. So it doesn't really know the schema beforehand. So at runtime, when I run it, when I use this schema and I run it at runtime, because even if you do previous schema, you don't get anything. But when I run it during the runtime, it's picking it up as null. So it's picking up extra uh, those extra fields for some reason. But why would they do that though? So let's see if it worked anyway. Let's see what happened. So this is how to debug, guys. See, I'm sorry, maybe you're not following me, but you try different things, you go back, you check. This is how you systematically go into, you find the root cause. You see how